I remember when I walked in, I was sitting down on the front bench or whatever, and I sat there for a few minutes, and I think everyone at one point just walked by and just kind of stared at me and was like, "What the fuck?" And I just walked around or whatever, but.
Hi guys.
Hey
Hi.
guys.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. So today we are talking about
Meet your trainers. Meet the trainers of
meeting
Miracle
us.
Canine minus David, because you already know him.
Yeah, you see enough of him. So where do you want to start? Want to start with you and go move down?
Sure.
How do you want to do this?
That's fine. So I'm Michelle, and I suppose we could start with. I've been training dogs professionally since 2014. So about 9 years, I would say at this point. Prior to training dogs, I was owning and training horses. I got into dog training because I owned a Bernedoodle. So I got him when I was about 19, I believe. And he was like my first dog that I got as like an adult. And he was cute, so I got a doodle.
Yeah.
And I had absolutely no idea what to do with him. He had a very strong personality, very dominant dog, and I don't use the word dominant lightly. I only use it when it's actually accurate. And that was Cash. And I figured if I knew how to train horses, could dogs really be that different? They are different. Spoiler alert. There's some things that are similar, but a lot of things that are different. And so I went through a couple different trainers with him, and I did some positive only training first. That's kind of everyone's first stop, I think, because that's like the most easily accessible. There's like an abundance of those. Started there with him. That did not work. He was not food motivated in the sense that like if it was like a trade-off, he was not going to do it. So it's like, would he take food from you? Yes, but if you needed to require something of him to get the food, he said, then I don't care enough. Never mind, no thanks. He also was performing a lot of behaviors. Not only was he just not complying to any like commands that I needed him to learn, he was also a lot of nuisance behaviors of like jumping up on the counters. I remember one training consultation I had, Cash, who was 6 months old and already about like 60 pounds at that point, was up on my countertops just walking around. Just fully on the countertops. And the trainer was like, you just allow him to do that? And I said, then you get him down. And she tried to get him down and he bit her, so.
How old was he?
6 months.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you guys probably never heard this side of Cash before, have you?
I never knew he was like this.
Yes, yeah, he was a little gremlin.
Nor would I've ever guessed.
I know. Now he's like my soul dog.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do without him. But yeah, he was a terrible dog. I tried a lot of Caesar techniques. Listen, I like Caesar Milan, but that didn't work very well for me either. I ended up with like more of an old school trainer that was more like yank and crank type style. So I went from like one extreme to the other, and that did not work very well either, because once you started like confrontation with Cash, he was like, okay, fine, we're fighting now. And so then it just spiraled out of control from there. He bit that trainer as well. And then that trainer said that like, oh, at such a young age, if he's, biting and drawing blood, like, there's just no hope for him, so I really think you should consider putting him down. Somebody told me that, and I said, I don't think that sounds right. So thankfully I did not take their advice, and eventually I found a company with e-collars that worked pretty well, and started working with him that way. And then from there, that just kind of opened the world to professional dog training, and kind of stepped through it. And now the last few years, I've acquired a few more dogs. I got my Dutch Shepherd. I got a little Chihuahua. And when I met my husband, he also had 2 dogs at the time, a pit mix and then like a hound mix as well. And so, of course, with my own personal dogs, I've implemented a lot of my own training and kind of learned from them and through them. And then also, obviously, with experiencing like different seminars and mentorships and different things as well, expanded my knowledge that way too. And I've been with Miracle now since, when did I? 2021? Yeah, the end of 2021. Yeah.
Are those the trainers that you were talking about, were you working for them at that time, or you just
I
went
was a
through
client.
those? Okay.
Yeah, so I've seen like both sides of being a client, and then also being like the trainer. And so,
And so with Cash, you went through how many was that? 3?
Yeah.
3 trainers?
Yeah, 3 different trainers. Yep. Thankfully, I didn't give up, and it's like very frequent now that I end up with clients that they're like, "Oh, you're like my 3rd or 4th stop."
Yeah.
And it's like it's pretty sad to see how long it takes people to find like good quality training, and also like how many people probably don't persist beyond that and being like, I guess it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Or, my dog's hopeless. And how frustrating it is when to be told that you should put a dog down just simply because the trainer does not have the skill set to help you.
Yes.
Like,
just
if you
they can't do their job.
if you can't do it, just say that. Like, yes, are there some dogs that are just truly bad dogs?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And are dangerous, a huge liability, things like that.
If you're gonna be a trainer that does that, I feel like there's give other options as well. I'd be like, all right, yes, I can do it, or maybe there is a dog that is really struggling or something, but then just be, do your own research. As a trainer, you should know other help,
Exactly.
But
yeah, so I think that's always frustrating. I mean, I have a client right now. I have a number of clients that have been told to put their dogs down. And it's like, it's just baffling to me that somebody would immediately be so quick to recommend that. Like, to me, that's like my absolute last choice scenario. There are some times that I put that on the table for people because of the situation, the lifestyle, the dog, whatever, but that would never ever be like my first go-to. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what to do.
Option,
I guess you should just kill it.
Right.
It's like, what?
That's what I mean. Yeah, to have that as like your only option that you're giving the client.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's very bold. It's bold of you to think that you are clearly so all-knowing that you know that there's nothing else in the world that you could possibly do other than put down the dog.
Yeah. It's our job is to literally help these people
Right.
and these dogs to try to get better.
Right.
And if you can't do it, then find someone else that can.
Well, especially in the case of like a
second
6-month-old puppy.
Yeah, right.
Like, come on.
Well, and I'm sure now, looking back at it, I'm sure you probably could have picked that apart and been like, well, you did this wrong, you did this wrong.
Oh, for
You know what I
sure.
mean? So,
For sure. It's like, obviously he bit
so
you.
it's something else.
Like,
It's just, it comes with experience,
Yeah.
just knowing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then what's crazy is, like, once I had him properly trained and me and him had a great relationship, he was a therapy dog. He used to go to libraries and, like, kids would read him books.
Aww.
Adorable.
That is
Okay.
really cute.
Yeah, and now he's just, like, the sweetest man. Is he still a little ornery at times? Yes.
He looks just like a little rug when you wake up. He was sleeping over here last time.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Lumos, when I got my Dutch Shepherd, that came with a whole nother. I would say through Cash is like where I grew the most, is just like a client and like a dog owner, I would say, as like just a general dog owner. And then Lumos is who really grew me the most, as just like a trainer aspect. I was given. And again, I was an adult. I take full responsibility for my choices and everything that I made, but I was given a lot of like guidance and direction on getting that high caliber of a dog way too soon in my dog training career. And so when I got that dog, no matter how much research you do and how ready you think you are to get a Dutchie or a Malinois, you're never actually ready until you've had to live with it and deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
But especially after training professionally for 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I got that dog. I was like, and when I got him, he was like 6 months old when I got him, and he was absolutely insane. He was shipped to me from across the country, and everyone was warning me. They're like, oh, when you ship dogs, they're usually like kind of nervous and takes them to adapt a couple weeks because they were just in the dark for like 10 hours. They don't know anybody, blah, blah, blah. Just being moved around the crate, whatever. This dog, the day that he got here, was just like unfazed. I brought him to the facility I worked at the time. He busted out of the crate. He was running laps. He was jumping around, bouncing off the walls, biting things. We had like a toy rack on the wall. He ripped all the toys off of it. And I'm just standing there like, what have I done? Like, he was so unfazed. And I remember one of the other trainers at the time was like, well, he's definitely not a nervous dog, that's for sure. And I was like, yeah, he definitely is not. Yeah, and the bloodlines that he came from were, the more that I dug into it, once he matured and he went from like super social to hating everything in the matter of like a week to 2 weeks, I then dug a little deeper on like his bloodlines and where he came from. Because again, I was just kind of told like, get this dog. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. Turns out that his like grandfather was a police canine that got dishonorably discharged from the workforce for turning on like 4 separate canine handlers on the job because he was such a handler sensitive dog where it was like if you didn't have the skill set to handle him, he knew that and he said screw you, essentially. And so most of the time the puppies that came, they bred him, I would suppose, with like a very even keel female, kind of balanced itself out a little bit, and most of the time the puppies all turned out okay, and then there were like those couple few in there that were like kind of a little wonky like Lumos. And so like Lumos is a very stable dog.
Oh yeah.
He's just very confident, assertive, and dominant, and so he was a lot of dog for me to handle at merely 2 to 3 months of experience training professionally at that point. So I made about every mistake you could possibly make, and he was my guinea pig. God bless him.
Gotta start somewhere.
I bled a lot. I cried a lot. He's probably, I've gotten bit more by him than any other dog. And I learned a lot. There are a million things when I look back that, of course, I would do differently now because I have way more experience now. But I wouldn't have that experience if I didn't do the things I did with him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like a catch-22. But yeah, and then now with like Snoop, my Chihuahua, he's my newest one. I feel like with him, I've really been able to take all of everything that I've learned and really be able to do everything as perfectly right as I could ever do with a dog with that puppy. And I think that he's like the one that I'm like, yes. Like,
got it right.
I finally got it right. Like, I look back on how I raised him. He's going to be 2 in March. Everything that I did and where he's at. I know, isn't that crazy?
It is.
And everything. And I look back and I'm like, I don't think I would change anything. Like, I feel like I did everything the way that I would have wanted to do it. Of course, with the knowledge I have now, maybe 10 years from now, I'll do the same thing I'm doing with Lumos. But, yeah, so it's, like, very rewarding to, like, get a dog that you purposely get, you feel like you've done your knowledge and your research to get, that's, like, a really good starting point genetically, you know? And then being able, I think you probably feel that way with Pip, too, you know? But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that's kind of my little journey there.
Yeah.
What about you, Seamus?
So, this is my first dog training facility or whatever. Been here for, we were just talking before we started recording, 3 years, I think we said, right?
What year did you start?
I started in 2020, at the end of 2020, I think.
Okay.
Because it's right when the lockdown started, like,
Lifting a little bit.
Yeah. And so I started as a kennel tech, and then became a trainer, I think, maybe after like half a year. of working or so, like 6 months or so, and then I've just been training ever since. So before that, though, I was working at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, working in the working in animal care for their like education department.
That's scary.
So that was it was really fun, but with the lockdown and everything, luckily I was able to find a job continuing to work with animals, and so I had the opportunity to work here. So I've been doing that ever since, but it was never, I will say, it was never like a job I was like growing up be like, this is what I want to do, right? I feel like even when I was younger, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like besides Caesar, I was like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like I was like, but then obviously like, as long as I worked with animals, that was really my only thing. So again, I was just like so fortunate to be able to find this and kind of evolve by working here. This is the only place I've worked, but I've been fortunate enough to have people like you guys and stuff that, have so many years of experience and have done different places and everything. So I feel like even though I've only been doing it for a few years, I feel like I've grown a lot in that time just from pulling experiences and stuff from you guys.
Well, David is like really big about like expanding the knowledge base outside of Miracle too, though, which is kind of nice because some companies are so like, this is what we do and that's it, And he's always like encouraged like outside learning, like read these books and listen to these trainers and these podcasts and all that kind of stuff.
He gave me a book for Christmas as a Caesar Milan book.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one too. I've read some of it, okay?
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I'm not a huge reader, but I'm trying. But that's, I obviously don't have as much experience as you, but I did work with my Australian Shepherd, Sully, here as well. I started when he was, or I guess he started training when he was 8 months old. And even though I was working here, like as a kennel tech, I was still technically a client there as well, in that the client perspective, right? Which was also kind of nice to kind of see that a little bit as well. And then, now he's working on himself. But, I've been, it's been a good time so far, but that's really the amount of my experience, I would say, probably in the dog training world. But,
well, you can't it's not like you can get more experience any quicker than just doing it.
Right, yeah, and that's what I mean. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm like, trying to think if there's anything else. But
Yeah. Well, that's why it's like, well, of course you don't have as much experience as me because, like, I've just been doing it longer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I think the level of, I think someone's skill set and their level of experience can be different.
Mhm.
Like, I think that, for the most part, all of our skill sets are very similar.
Right.
It's just that, if you've been training for more years, you have more, experiences of application to, pull from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think that's where I find so much help from, you guys, is that I'm able to gain those, experiences or whatever from you by, I'm struggling with the dog, and you're like, oh, well, I've done this before with this dog, or I've had this problem before, so you're just like, I'm picking up on those things that maybe you had to struggle through, but now know how to do it, so now you can just pass on me, we can kind of fast track it almost,
Exactly, yeah.
So, yeah.
Less
So thank you
problem
for
solving.
struggling. So I
No
don't have
problem.
to, but, yeah, that's pretty much me. What about you, Bridget?
Well, I'm Bridget. I've been with Miracle for about going on 4 years now. I came from a shelter background, so working in multiple shelters in both Cuyahoga and Summit County. I got a lot of experience working with some pretty brutal dogs, a lot of aggressive dogs, a lot of abuse cases. So I kind of grew up in shelter work. which is very hard. I saw what made me want to particularly really do training is starting to see the disconnect between, like you said with Cash, like their mindset is if the dog has a big enough issue, it just gets euthanized. And to be very clear, I do think there's a time and place for behavior euthanasia. I'm not saying that that is wrong, but it was happening so often and so much, and dogs that you would like fall in love with, you come back next week and you're like, oh, they snapped at somebody because they gave him a kiss on the face, so the dog was dead. So seeing that big disconnect, I wanted to be a part of something positive to change it, and I started at Miracle a couple months after we opened and started as a kennel tech and got really interested in training and starting to see the changes it could make in a dog. Particularly, remember giving a dog a bath, and it was like having a very rough time having that bath. And David walked over and like worked his David magic, and the dog was completely calm in the tub a couple moments later, and I was like, wow. So seeing the big changes that could make really drew me in, and I luckily got an opportunity to learn under David to be a trainer. I was previously in board and trained, but have since moved to one-on-one, and I've really enjoyed my time and lessons. I grew up raising German short hair pointers, so high drive dog, maybe not in the same sense as a Dutchie or a Mal,
They're
but
still pretty crazy.
Yeah.
They're little crackheads.
yes,
They're up there with them. They're underestimated
yeah.
by how insane they really are sometimes.
They are insane, and like we responsibly bred them for sale and to be hunting dogs. So I was in the hunting world, duck hunting particularly, and I just loved watching the dogs be able to run in the fields of Utah and Colorado. And my first introduction was e-collar was with recall training, and to see how positively impactful that could be on a dog, just to be able to be a dog. As in cities like Cleveland or where I grew up in Maryland, it was just very restrictive. Dogs were always on leashes. So what really drew me in was my experience with shelter dogs and seeing the difference it could make when a dog's just allowed to be a dog and run, be free.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have that trust, you know?
Yeah, it is really underestimated. Like,
Yeah.
people really kind of do dogs a disservice by putting labels on them. As you were saying, like, some people just aren't experienced enough to work with a dog, and that was happening a lot in the shelter. It was a game of favorites, so if the behavioral team liked a dog, that no matter what that dog did, even if it was dangerous behavior, would be kind of grandfathered in and not put down. We use a lot of hot dogs to control a lot of behavior. I, for a brief moment in time, was strictly positive only trainer, and quickly saw that that wasn't excelling a lot of the dogs. In the shelters that I was involved with were very strictly anti-tool. So the decision to leave those shelters was extremely rough. And I got into fostering and rescue, which is why I ended up with 1 million dogs.
Bless your heart.
I was gonna ask, how many dogs do you have for
You know,
Lost count.
yeah, I lost count a while ago, but when I left the shelter, I felt this need to like compensate for not being in the shelter world anymore. So I fostered all these dogs, and then in some cases they'd be like, yeah, this dog is just not gonna make it. We're not gonna push through adoption, and I was like, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Particularly with Sunday, craziest
Oh,
dog I've
really?
ever met. I don't think she's on the euthanasia list, but she was very, very difficult of a dog, and it would have likely been returned to shelter
Yeah.
if she had.
Or she would have just run away and never been found again.
Yeah. Yeah, the woman that was fostering her said she had never ever seen Sunday go to the bathroom outside, and she was like, this dog is nuts. And she brought the dog to my house. The Sunday came in the house, knocked over a china cabinet with like my grandmother's fine china, shattered it everywhere,
Ugh.
and then peed on the floor. And I was like,
Wow.
I want her.
That's my girl.
That's my girl.
That's her.
Yeah.
That's her right there.
You probably never saw her poop outside because she eats it so
I
fast.
know.
She probably
Honestly,
was.
Yeah.
she'd
But-
just like eat it. She's just going for it as it's coming out.
Oh,
Yeah.
Soft serve ice cream right there.
Oh my god.
She's a disgusting little girl, but
She's
now
very disgusting little
she is, and I have.
Don't
But
talk about
it's-
Snoop's girlfriend like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
okay?
sorry.
Like,
She loves him. But I put blood, sweat, and tears into that dog, and I get to reap the benefits of consistency and seeing. She's by no means perfect, but she's a pretty well behaved dog.
She's like Casper. It's like something where it's like, I would never think that.
Yeah.
That was kind of her background.
Unless you lived
based
with
on what
her.
she is. Yes, right, I guess.
Yes. And she's an excellent dog now with all her obedience and just seeing how far a dog could come. That was my experience with like a higher drive dog, not to the caliber of Lumos, of
Yeah.
course, but to start to see that shift.
what's a
in
different
her.
type of drive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her drive,
good.
I would say, for a beagle is high
Mhm.
in the aspect that Lumos's drive for a Dutchie is high, but like they're just different types of drive.
Mhm.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. Sunday's in no means like bitey or mouthy or aggressive, but if there is food, she will figure out how to steal it or get into it. So
Yeah.
if we live a pretty a life with a lot of monitoring and management, and that
Yeah.
works for us.
Yeah.
So that's
That's
how
what's
I got
important.
into like dog training in the dog world, and I've really enjoyed my time here. I think I've worked in the dog industry and I've worked at daycares, and I can confidently say that Miracle is full of very compassionate people and people that actually love to be here and love what they're doing. In the previous places, there was a lot of toxicity amongst the staff and a lot of fighting. So this is the only place I felt like I have friends here, and it's just been really an amazing journey to be a part of Miracle.
It feels like it truly exists for the purpose of like helping dogs and people in just a business format.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like, oh, like I want to like own and run a business and like I'll just use this vehicle to do that. A lot of places that I've been involved with felt like that.
Yeah.
It was like I just wanted to run or own a business and like this was trendy or popular or accessible at the time to just like make a dog training.
Yeah.
And they're just disconnected from it, where it's like it feels like it's like driven by like the actual passion behind it, and then it's like okay, and then we're also running a business,
Yeah.
type of thing. You know, I think that obviously you can't. There has to be an aspect to it that is about business type stuff, but like I don't ever feel like I'm restricted in my ability to help people because of like, oh well, we have to do this financially or this. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
just feels different.
And even like obviously like us as trainers, we love dogs and we want to help them. That's kind of our purpose. But even going down to like even with like the kennel techs and stuff, like they even are so passionate with loving the dogs that are here
Oh, yeah.
and helping them, and you know with whatever they need, whether it's enrichment or going to the bathroom, walks, whatever. So that's something as well that I think is kind of like unique. You know, it's not just a kennel tech job that you're just coming in to clean crates or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they actually enjoy helping the dogs as well. You know,
Yeah.
when they can.
Yeah.
Which I think is really nice as well.
We have like a excellent team right now, and
Yeah, we got a good crew.
yeah. And you might see a new face here, and that's our newest trainer, Senny.
Yay!
If you had your dog within our board and train program with the last several months, Senny's likely been heading a lot of your dog's training, so we have her here, and we want to give her the opportunity to introduce herself and talk about what she's excited for in the training world.
Thanks, Bridget.
Let's hear it.
My name's Jasenia, aka Sunny. Mostly go by Sunny because my first name is pretty difficult to say or pronounce. I started as a kennel tech probably about, it was like the end of May in 2021. And I was kennel teching for about a year and a half. And I did have a German Shepherd, or I do have a German Shepherd named Coda. He was a very big pain in the ass. I was literally nervous to take him out by myself because he was very reactive towards people and especially dogs. Like he just was just never around them, so that's kind of just how he reacted. And I was kind of like, this life kind of really sucks, and I really want to like be able to do something about it. And after being a kennel tech for a year and a half, David asked me to be a board and train trainer. So I've been doing that for about a couple of months. I would say end of December was when I started, and it's been very awesome. It's nice to experience new things being in the dog world, because just being like a kennel tech, you kind of just see like your one-on-ones, you do little socials and stuff like that. So I kind of had like a lot of experience to be able to feel confident in wanting to be a dog trainer, and seeing how like the big difference of like where my dog Coda came from. I just wanted to be able to help other dogs that have the same issues, and being able to feel accomplished, like in that aspect. But
It's very rewarding.
yeah, it is. Especially like when a dog comes in, it's just like very reactive. You can't even touch them, and then by the time they leave, it's just like nothing ever happened. They're perfect little angels, and yeah. So anything else I'm missing?
You're killing it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm definitely really loving this job. Like Seamus said, you grow up to being like not thinking that this is like a thing, but now that I was like here for a while, I was like, I think I could do this. Like it's a learning experience like dance. I came from dance before. I was a hip hop dancer, and it's kind of like you have to like train and train and train and train and train to be not like perfection, but like to your expectation.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, you have kind of that, because I was a ballet dancer, so I get that too, where it's like you're constantly chasing like
yeah.
that goal, which
It's
is
so hard.
pretty
but-
unattainable,
Yeah.
let's be honest, especially in dance, but like it builds a very like strong work ethic, of like, and you learn how to compete against yourself
Yeah.
more than anything, which just pushes you to like get better and better.
Right.
Because I would consider myself a very competitive person,
Yeah,
but not
me too.
necessarily in reference to like other people. Like I don't look at you guys as like competition. I look at like myself.
Yeah.
as like okay, every year I want to get better and better and better as like what I'm doing and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course, that's what I'm trying to do, but it's only been a couple months, but I'm trying.
You're doing
No,
great.
you're doing great.
Thanks, guys.
You either like, I hate to say you either have it or you don't have it in this industry, but very early on I knew that you had it in you. Like your work ethic has been incredible, so like it's really nice to start to see like you learning and growing in that role too.
Well, it's kind of like I don't know, for as long as I've been doing this and seeing like new trainers starting out, you can kind of pinpoint who's gonna take it and run and who's gonna just fizzle out a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's
like
like
the kennel techs. That's kind of
yeah.
It compares to every job.
The gruffness of this job, and it's rigorous and hard, and
stressful.
some people have the personality for it and others don't.
Yeah.
The easy dogs are fun. The
Yeah.
hard dogs are the ones that can break some people.
that's
Oh, yeah.
kind of where you're
Yeah.
learning too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
But those are also the most rewarding dogs.
Yeah.
The ones that
Yeah.
are hard.
Yeah.
That's why it is so rewarding, because because you get people that don't know what they're doing really, and owners have been through 3 trainers and stuff that they haven't been able to help, and so then that's even more rewarding, to be able to be that voice for the dog, to be like,
The
okay,
last
this
stop.
is what they actually need.
I want to be your last stop.
Yes.
The last stop, and that's it.
To fully enjoying your dog for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Oh, did I ever mention that Coda got trained here?
I don't think
You
so.
no, you mentioned like you insinuated.
Yeah.
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 You've
Yeah.
been training with David.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did a couple of lessons with David, and he was very poorly on the leash, which probably caused his reactivity because he thought that he was alpha, but
Mhm.
nope.
Not anymore.
But
Not
yeah,
anymore.
after I trained him, and I was trying to just keep up with his stuff because, like I said, I was like literally shaking and nervous, like trying to take him outside because I knew other people. I was living in an apartment complex this time, so of course people are going to be walking in and out all the time and they allow dogs, so other people were going to have dogs.
Mhm.
And just by like the way he reacted, I was just like so embarrassed that like I knew it was my responsibility, but like at the same time I'm kind of like, why is he like this? But like now that I'm like here in the dog world and learning about things and like learning how like things come together and how they like express itself, it's very different. There's a lot of things that I had to learn and still learning, but I love it here.
Yeah.
It's nice.
No, and you've done a good job with him. I mean, he's awesome now.
Yeah.
He's come quite a long way. That's
yeah,
for sure.
he has. He's still a little whiny, but that's my boy.
Well, that brings up a good point too. I feel like a lot of people get they get really embarrassed of their dog, and so they choose to almost kind of put the Band-Aid over it rather than just ask the questions, you know, and
Yeah.
and even sometimes, you know, you guys are talking about this with the one-on-one sometimes that they come in the first or second lesson, they're almost scared to open up to you
Yeah.
to tell them like what their actual issues are or whatever.
There's some
because
mean
they're so-
trainers out there.
Yeah, and it's just like right, and it's something that should not be a career where you are like trying to make the
No.
owners feel bad. They're coming to you for the help. You have to like,
Exactly.
and I think again that's why we make such a good team is that we all kind of have that unspoken understanding where it's just like we're here to help. You know, we want you to open up, and the only way we can really help and get to the bottom of some of these issues is if you let us know.
Yeah.
You know?
One thing that I
it's
love
really
is
important.
that I genuinely have never heard any of you or David or anybody like talk negatively about a client in a way of like, oh, like, you know, they're just doing all this wrong. I feel like it's such a uplifting environment where like we truly like value and care about the people that like come to us for help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know how there's some places like I felt about this way for a lot of time. Sometimes you know how you leave places and you're like, well, they're talking shit about me right now. I just know it.
Yeah.
Like whether like honestly sometimes I felt that way about like tattoo shops or like salons sometimes or things like that where like you go somewhere, it's kind of vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you leave and you're like, okay, yeah, they're definitely talking shit right now. And you just like feel embarrassed and you never want to go back. Like I'm like very proud to say that like that doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would never expect any of that from any of you, which is really nice.
Very empathetic place to work.
Yeah.
Like we're all very empathetic of the struggles that people go through with their dog, and not judging people. I think is really, really nice that we're about that life. And that we're able to help the person because it could be an issue that we've seen 500 million times, but that person is isolated within that feeling lost. And they don't have direction, and being able to be a part of giving the person the tools to be confident has just been like astounding part of the growth here, you know?
Well, I think another important thing, even just like going over all our kind of stories and stuff, is we've all been there. You know, it's not like it's not like our dogs are perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's something else that I think that gets a little like skewed sometimes from other trainers is that they make this whole thing that their dogs are perfect and
It's
they've
like you
never had
forget
an
where
issue.
you came
and,
from.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
Like-
very much we're just like, no, we want to help you because we know what it's like to have a
Yeah.
frustrating, experience with a dog. You know,
Yeah.
like or or feel embarrassed, or like whatever it may be. Have an aggressive dog. Have a dog that just really likes to eat. It's something where it's something that we've all been there. So
Yeah.
I think that's another kind of important thing with that. Is just as an owner, just knowing, or that a client knowing that we've been there and we understand that, so we can be sympathetic.
Yeah.
With understanding that, but.
It's very difficult as you're starting your training process, and always being cognizant of everybody's going through something that you know nothing about. So if you can be kind to everybody all the time, that's just such a game changer. And you put kindness out in the world and you get kindness back. So luckily I feel like our clients, I have like some of the best clients ever. I don't have an issue with anybody. I feel really, really grateful to have such a great client base.
You get gifts on Christmas.
Yeah.
My clients keep me fed, and I love it.
I love being
They're always
fed.
bringing me sour candies.
Yeah.
Love those sour
That's nice.
candies.
That's so cute.
To all your
Cookies.
future clients out there,
Very
Michelle likes your
thoughtful.
candy.
I love my sour candies. Okay, my teeth don't, but I love them.
Yes.
I love Chihuahua puppies. Wants to drop one of those off.
Oh man, what's your guys' favorite activities to do with your own dogs, like your personal dogs? If you have a day off, what are you doing with your dog?
Off-leash hike.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love a good off-leash hike to see my dog be a dog and run and smell and forage and sniff and just be happy.
Yeah.
For sure, that's got to be it. I live pretty close to Edgewater, and so it's very convenient that I can just take Sully down there and everything. So having him be able to to have that trust with other joggers, dogs, all that stuff going around, and still be able to just go even just on a walk with him, or have him run around the field a little bit, working on those recalls with some fetch and everything. That's probably our go-to activity, or just or like a hike in the metro parks.
Yeah.
To have a little bit more alone time, but yeah.
I have a little spot that I take Coda to the metro parks. Kind of like, I say in the cut, because you can't, it's like literally you have to be down the street to like see it, to turn down there. So it's like a part in the metro parks where there's like a pavilion, it's like a picnic area.
Yeah.
And then there's a big field behind it.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
he kind of he knows every time we're in the metro parks, he just starts, and I'm like, I already know, you know where you are, just wait a second.
He's just pumped.
It's not gonna make me go any faster.
Yeah. And I always play fetch with him because he loves balls. And I have like that little chuck it thing where it goes like miles. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do with him. Or maybe just doing off-leash healing because he needs to work on that a little bit. Maybe like just doing little training sessions here and there just to touch him up.
Yeah. Lumos loves to swim. So if the weather permits
Does he
swimming,
really?
he loves swimming.
Wow.
If I take him to the couple places that I take him to swim, as soon as he gets out of the car, he goes. And his whole body just starts shaking, and his eyes get all big, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So he loves
that sounds
swimming.
like Lumos.
Yes, he loves swimming. He also loves off-leash hiking. We go on an off-leash hike at least once a week. Any weather, rain, shine, we're doing it. He also loves to run while I roller skate. So again, if the weather's nice in the summer, like he puts his little boots on and we go roller skating, and he'll run for like 5 miles and like nothing. He gets home and he's like, we're gonna go again. So he loves all that. Because he had he blew out his knee a little bit a few years ago, and he had to have surgery and stuff. Like, we don't do frisbee anymore. He loved frisbee, but we don't do that because no jumping and stuff. But he can still play ball and everything. I just gotta watch like the high impact stuff.
Yeah.
That's why swimming's real good for him and stuff now at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he's 9, so his body is old, but his brain never gets old
Yeah.
with
Looks
those
very
dogs. So
young.
Yeah, I thought he was like 4.
no,
Yeah.
he's 9.
Just learning so much about your
Is it
dogs.
Vinny
Right.
or 10? Vinny?
Vinny's almost
Vinny's
10 now
10.
too. Yeah,
Okay,
Vera
yeah,
and
they're both
Bella.
crazy.
They both look young though.
Snoop, he loves to do weight pull. That's his
Oh, I didn't
activity.
know that.
Aw.
Yeah, that's his activity. He's a little bodybuilder, you know?
He does look pretty jacked.
He
He's filling
is.
out.
He is a muscular man, that's
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah, so I think those are our favorite things to do.
Mhm.
Snoop also loves off-leash hiking
Yeah.
though too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like even like work. I know you work with a lot of free shaping with Snoop for
Mhm.
tricks and stuff.
Yeah.
That is, I've been doing a lot of that lately, and to see the wheels turning in Pip, like
Mhm.
how to get what she wants by doing the desired behavior
Yeah.
is so cute because you get to see them like problem solve a little
Yeah,
bit.
and their confidence just like
yeah,
through the
they're
roof.
like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A little
And-
video you posted of her with the little like cave like cat bed
Yeah.
I gave you, and her little legs were just like boop. She just sucked
She gets
them in.
like so frustrated because she gets in the bed. She's like, "Where the hell is my treat?" And I'm like, "Not quite, little lady." And she's like, pulls her clothes. And, no, can I have it?
It's so cute. I love it.
Well, that's just going off of the whole we're trainer kind of thing. Is another thing was all of our favorite activities include some sort of practice, training,
Mhm.
something, right?
Yeah.
It's their favorite activity,
Yeah.
so we do it, but
Yeah.
we're still, again, incorporating some structure
Mm-hmm.
and rules into allowing them to do it,
I was
right?
gonna say we'd never be able to do any of the stuff we just said
Yeah.
if they weren't trained.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Like none of it.
And it took a blood, sweat, tears, I'm sure,
Yeah.
to work through a lot of the issues with our dogs. But part of dog ownership is adapting to a training lifestyle that can be you can be consistent with, and that can lead you to have a more open life with your dog. So
Yeah, for sure.
training is certainly not restrictive. At first, we might need to put boundaries, but look at where we all are with our
Mhm.
dogs.
Yeah.
They're able to have a good, free life, and they have excellent lives and excellent owners.
As well as us. We
Yeah.
can breathe, we can relax a little bit more than
Oh,
probably
for
when
sure.
we started with our dogs. So.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Not worried that Lumos is gonna like rip someone's face off
Yeah,
at any
that's-
given moment.
That's kind of a convenient thing.
Mm-hmm. Or my own, for that matter.
Right.
Yeah. It's nice having a face, you know.
Yeah.
I can't wait to one day eventually maybe get another Dutchie and do it right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Take
feel
everything
like
you
feel like I
learned.
did with that dog, how I did with Snoop.
Mhm.
Feel like, okay, I feel good about this.
Mhm.
Feel I can honor Lumos, I think, by
Yeah.
going back and doing it the right way with the level of experience that I need at that point.
Yeah, I would definitely
But-
want another GSP.
Yeah.
in my
I could see you with one of those.
I-
I
definitely.
love a good high drive hunting
Yeah.
dog.
I could definitely see that.
What other dog would you want to get eventually, Seamus? Is there any breeds that like pique your interest?
I have a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I've always loved like our Burmese mountain dog.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's
Yeah.
something I would ever get.
I could see you with one of
But-
those.
Yeah, you like
Yeah.
a fluffy dog, I feel
Yeah.
like.
You do.
Yeah, I definitely do.
I could see
My
that.
thing is now just again having experience with seeing certain dogs and everything and going into it with a more intelligent mindset of let me pick an appropriate dog for what I would be
Yeah.
what my lifestyle fits rather
Yeah.
than just being like, oh well, I like this dog, so I'm just gonna get it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I would love to have that dog. I don't know if it's the dog for me, but that'd probably be my go-to if it
Yeah.
were to ever fit my lifestyle, I think. Or just my Australian Shepherds. Honestly, growing up, it was one of those things where it's like I didn't even know, like I feel like Australian Shepherds weren't as popular kind of as they are now.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe they
were.
were and I just didn't know it, but
They got real trendy.
yeah. But now I'm like, I love these things. But,
I
so
love these
obviously
things.
very biased because
Yeah.
of Sully, but
Every girl that wears Uggs and lives in an apartment has an Aussie.
yeah.
And they're like,
And I've been
they're
able
like
to
miserable.
fortunately
Right?
be able to train a lot of Aussies too, and I've loved every single one of them too.
Yeah,
so
they're great dogs.
not
Little
all of them
kooky.
have loved me, but you know, it's alright. But anyways,
All dogs love you, yeah.
Sunny, say your dogs.
Yeah, say your
dogs.
We got time.
I have. Well, I do want to get a border collie.
I could see you with a border collie.
They're very, 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 very smart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're crazy, but
Yeah.
they.
A
they're
border
very
collie would
smart.
annoy the shit out of me.
Yeah,
But Godspeed.
but I did want a mountain wall,
Mm-hmm.
but I know consequences behind that. lazy, so like I mean, at least I
Lifestyle.
did it.
Yeah, right.
But yeah,
You could do
I
it.
would go.
You could do it. I'd wait a little longer.
Yeah.
I'll give you the advice no one gave
Personal-
me.
Yes.
Mhm.
Wait a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe like in 5 years,
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yep. Yep.
I did want a Rottweiler. I did want a German Shorthair Pointer, but we had a couple of those, and I was like, maybe I don't want one of those anymore. And it's just crazy how like dogs act because of their breed.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a lot.
Mhm.
yeah.
Because like people are like, oh, I'm gonna get this dog because they're so pretty, but then they don't know.
Yeah,
The
the
stuff.
genetics
Yeah.
drives the behavior like 75% of the
Yeah.
time. For
And
sure.
then it just ruins this whole thing, and it's kind of like what you guys were talking about, putting down dogs
Yeah.
because
Because people don't know what they're doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
they don't know how to deal with it.
I just saw a video of a Malinois puppy that was 12 weeks old and was in a bite quarantine because it already bit somebody.
What?
Yeah, so it's
12
like,
weeks.
first of all, like, was it probably just puppy biting at the intensity of a Malinois puppy?
Mhm.
Probably. You know what I mean? But because it's a Malinois and you don't know what you're doing,
Yeah.
the owners just dropped it off at a shelter and were like, it bites us nonstop, so
Yeah.
we don't want it anymore.
Genetics obviously has a big role, but so does environment. You know.
Oh, for
And
sure.
that's-
Well, and anybody who, and that's kind of I got into this discussion on a post earlier today. I was talking to you about it,
Mhm.
how a lot of people will blame breeders for stuff like that,
Mhm.
for selling dogs to people that shouldn't have them. Any responsible, ethical breeder is not doing that. They're not doing that. Like, even to get
That's
my
what makes
Chihuahua,
them.
Yeah.
I had to go to
Interview
this
process.
exclusive interview, signed a contract. I could
Yep.
get sued if
Yep.
I don't give Snoop back to her if something like, it's like this whole thing. And especially with high quality working breeds like Malinois and shit, no breeder who cares about the working integrity of their dog is going to give it to somebody who's just going to let it rot
Yeah.
and not live up to its potential.
We wouldn't sell
Like-
a dog to somebody that wasn't in sporting. Hunting,
Exactly.
Sporting. It's GSPs. They're not pets.
Yeah.
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 I
So
feel like when people get a dog, they think that they're just gonna grow up into this perfect little angel just because they're a
Yeah.
dog, and they
Yeah.
kind of just have like a stereotype.
Just because they'll cuddle them and give
Yeah.
them treats and all that
And
stuff.
it's their dog, and
Right.
it's just they see it like their real self, and then they're
Well, they like
oh, I can't do
project
no
this
more."
picture of the dog they want,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah.
don't get the dog that will actually fit that.
Mhm.
They just think that any dog that they get is just gonna automatically fit that box,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
a lot of the times it doesn't, unfortunately.
Like, does that happen with therapy dogs or like
Yeah.
service dogs?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, people it's died down a little bit, thankfully, I think, with education, but there was a big boom, I'd say probably like 3-4 years ago, of people just pulling any dog from anywhere and being like, I'm gonna train it to be my service dog.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like self-training service dogs. And it's like there's a reason that service dogs cost like 10 to 30 grand.
Mhm.
It's because they are being specifically bred from bloodlines that produce the high quality nerves, stability, temperament, intelligence, working capabilities that you need. And then on top of that, they're going through absurdly extensive training for whatever type of service they're providing. So like, you can't just go pull a pit bull out of a shelter and be like, here's my service dog. It's just not going to happen. And then beyond that, like the litters that they produce for service dogs, you could have 9 out of 10 of those puppies wash out and not even make it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
So
fail
it's
out.
like, even like within that, like restrictive of breeding and selectiveness, like you could still have a whole litter that maybe doesn't work. You
Or
know?
dogs that they're like particularly in seizure, it's like a scent almost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some dogs are capable of having that scent or having
Yeah.
that sixth sense, if you will.
Yeah.
And then others just
aren't.
genetically are not born with that.
Yeah.
And service dogs are task trained, so they're trained to do a task. They're not trained to emotionally
Yeah.
support us.
Oh yeah.
It's different.
Well, and that's what's a lot of it, I think, was driven by like the emotional psychiatric support that people were looking for. But like, to find a dog that could provide psychiatric service work, I think is even beyond the most difficult because you imagine the dog. I mean, dogs are so absorbent of our energy and of our emotions regardless. That's why most of them have the issues that they do just in regular life. So imagine getting a dog specifically to support you emotionally and mentally. Like, that dog needs to be a freaking rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no average dog is going to be able to absorb that and be like, let's keep trucking and not have any fallout
Not be phased, yeah.
on their own from that, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yes, the genetics definitely matter, all of that to say. Maybe we'll get into that next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That'd
a
be
good
an
one.
interesting topic.
Yeah, we could do that. So that's us.
That's us. Yes.
That's us.
We're glad to be serving the Cleveland area with our dog training expertise.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes.
Ask your questions if you ever have
Sign
them.
up for training.
Yeah.
Get one of us.
Come see us. Hang
Yeah.
out. Buy some candy. You know.
I love
It'd be
candy.
a great time. All right. Wrap it up.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you guys.
Thanks for joining.